Hi guys, we're back with another episode. It's your girls from the 92 Diaries. You got your host B,
Juliet,
and Miss Chardz.
And today's topic is about red flags. And I'm gonna generalize it because red flags can manifest their ways in different ways. Whether it be like relationships or whether it be a relationship that you have with a colleague, or like being mistreated, or just people in general. Yeah, red flags can manifest in different ways from different relationships. I would like to first open the floor of discussion by asking, what particular red flags would you say are your top 3 and why?
Oh, okay. Wow.
Are we talking about people or situations?
It can be either. Either or.
Lord.
Because a red flag at the end of the day is a red flag. And a crossover or a disrespect to your character should never ever be taken lightly, whether it's from Larry, Sally, or Mary Beth. Like, you know what I mean? If you feel disrespected or mistreated in some way and it didn't sit right with you, you have a right to. That's a red flag. I don't like that kind of 100%. Characteristic coming from somebody, and you should be allowed to call them up on it, whether, like I said, it's Larry, Sally, or Mary Beth. So
okay. Oh, I got mine actually.
Yeah.
So my first one is arrogance. I think I'm thinking more of like a dating perspective, because I've dated some arrogant people and
they call themselves woke, but really they're arrogant.
My chest really.
Wow. Oh, I need a scarf. That was real cold.
Wow. No, I think arrogance for me is a red flag, just because nobody knows anything more than anybody else. If you just met them, you don't know the knowledge that I have. I don't know the knowledge that you have, and coming with the attitude as if nothing you say is wrong ever, and no, it's just a no from me. Next one I would say is out of context anger, or I don't know, like anger that is disproportionate to the actual situation.
Irrational.
Yeah, like it's just like there's some people who absolutely blow up for the smallest things, and I feel like those people are more prone to feeling unnecessarily jealous, unnecessarily possessive, and are very territorial, and it can be quite controlling how their behavior manifests. And the last one was people who gossip unprovoked. Like, I didn't ask somebody else's life story. Why are you telling me this? This isn't. Who are you? What's your name? Where did you come from? And who are you talking to? It's just like they'll sit down and, oh my gosh, did you hear? Hear what? I don't even know you.
Wow.
And I don't want to be friend. I don't want to talk to somebody who does that. That's whack. Bye.
Oh my God. I hear you. Okay, I've got mine.
Yeah.
My first red flag is feeling uncomfortable, whether it's fear, anxiety, or just like something is off. Like
In yourself.
I think like when you're in an environment or you're with somebody and you are afraid of them, or you're anxious when you're with them, or you're anxious in a situation, you need to be out of that. Like, trust your instinct. Like, fly away from that. Because if you're feeling that something ain't right, like 9 times out of 10, something ain't right. I'm just saying, I've learned, trust your instincts. So fear and anxiety, or you're just feeling uncomfortable. If that person makes you uncomfortable, if this situation makes you uncomfortable, you should probably not be in that situation. You should probably not be in that person's presence. Like, just find a different direction. The second red flag for me is violence. And if someone comes across violent, or the situation is looking violent,
That's even a stop sign, fam. It's not red.
Like,
stop sign.
that one is like flashing red, like it's blinding red. It's like someone's got their full beams on in red, like massive. Like just remove yourself from that situation. So violence is massive for me, and it's sometimes it can start off small. So just be observant, and it's just little things like when someone has been, like you said, improportionate. So if something little happens and someone like blows out really quickly, or you know, there's some, maybe the violence starts with being towards someone else. Listen, honey, if that person can be violent to somebody else, there's a high chance it can switch one day onto you.
Yeah.
Don't think because you're in that person's good books today, you're not going to be, you know, you're not going to be receptive of that at any point. So, violence. And then my other red flag is somebody who continues to put you down. Or patronizes you, or really tries to, whether it's a girl like your homie, or whether it's your partner, or even work environment, someone who's always trying to push you down. They don't want to see you do anything better for yourself. They're always pointing out your flaws. They can only ever tell you what is wrong with you and not uplift you. If someone is continuously oppressing you, dude, bye.
Yeah.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Red flag.
Yes. Amen to that. Can I say so far, both of your points? Yes. I'm surprised. 1000% agree. 1000% agree. For me, my first one is judgmental. Don't be casting no stones at my glass house unprovoked. That's all I'm gonna say. Don't judge me for the way I live my life, for the choices I've made to date, or for my past. I can't change any of it. It's the reason why I'm the person I am today. Either accept me for who I am, or there's the door, walk out of it, don't look back. Simple as.
Don't go back now here and kick rocks and get the hell out.
My second one kind of ties in with Chard's like violence and, well, in a way, but I put controlling and manipulation.
Yay, God.
Don't try to manipulate me. Or, you know, like when you were saying about the gut instinct, it's when you call them up on your gut instinct and they make you seem like it's in your head. And this is a dating perspective. Like, you're paranoid. Like, you shouldn't be thinking about that. There's something wrong with you. Oh, it's because your previous partner did so and so to you. That's why you're feeling that type of way. Don't play on my insecurities. The truth will come to light. And look, they'll make no threats in it, but the truth will come to light in it, and then the rest will happen. So don't.
100%.
Honestly, I can't tell you how small it makes you feel as a person to be manipulated as if I am a puppet. And no, you can't tell me where to go, who to go, and I can think for myself. Thank you very much. Don't tell me something is in my mind, okay? If I have a concern, I have the right to voice the concern. And if you were the source of the concern, I'm gonna tell you the reason you're the source of concern. So don't be trying to twist that around on me with your psychology 101, psychology for dummies qualification, because I will slay you. Okay.
They got that shit from YouTube. Be like, I got a degree, bitch. Where? University of YouTube? Okay, fantastic.
Them distinctions don't count. And then my last one is pride. If you cannot humble yourself before me, if you can't humble yourself before me, you will allow your pride to come between us, whether that be in the work that you do, or whether that be in the personal relationship that we have. Then I'm sorry, B, we can't be.
In the mistakes that you've made.
Yes. Yes. Because I'm pretty sure in every argument, fine, not all the time will you be wrong, I can be wrong, but we will probably both say things that provoke each other, and we both need to make apologies for that. It doesn't matter who started what or who said what. If you've said something to hurt another person and you knew you said it to hurt them, you should be able to lower your pride and humble yourself to apologize to them. The same way you should be able to humble yourself as you go before God is the same way you should carry that disposition throughout life. Okay? Because it's just no, it's a no from me. Okay, so yeah,
100%.
So guys, in terms of, like, we've identified what our red flags are, but have there ever been situations where you have ignored your red flags?
100%.
And
that's why I'm screaming them now, because I think before. I'm gonna be honest, like, you know, when you see the flag is flying, you're like, I can't see. I'm blind. I can't see anything. And because I cannot see anything, I shall carry on walking. I will walk. And I will ignore everything behind me. And I'll continue to walk on the road, even though I can see the road is askew. There's many rocks and stones on this road. But you know what? I will just buy thicker boots. And I'll continue to walk and walk until there's no more road. Oh, it's just grass. Don't worry. I'll keep on walking. Really? Really, sis? Really? Like, girl.
This entire picture she's painted, I can see in my head right now.
And it has been me. It's me. I'm talking about me. Like,
it's a bit sad though, because obviously there'll be times where sis, you'll try and justify it, like, he didn't mean it that time.
See that?
He was just having a bad day.
What's a red flag? What's a red flag is your friend having to constantly justify the shitty behaviors of their partner. That is a red flag. And I feel like sometimes, if you're constantly finding yourself in positions where you're like, oh, well, actually, yeah, he didn't mean it. Well, and sis, like, I'm thinking for myself now, I'm beginning to recognize those behavior patterns. I shouldn't have to constantly justify my partner's behavior to people who care about me. Because the people who care about me are making me feel as if I now have to protect my other in order to look good in that person's eyes. Therefore, I am lying to not only them, but myself. For what? For what?
But I think people also need to realize as well, not all that glitters is gold. So like, yes, your relationships will have ups and downs, and that is fine. And it's up to you whether you choose to share that with your friends or not. And if you choose to keep that personally, that's fine. But if you know, and I'm going back to the same point I always make, if it compromises your mental health or makes you feel some type of way, or it compromises your gut instincts, then yeah, maybe you might want to talk to somebody about it. And that's completely fine. But if you want to keep it on the down low, that's also completely fine. No one's saying that you need to advertise everything and be a gossip.
There's something that you said there, I feel that is really important in terms of like every relationship has ups and downs, and every relationship has challenges. And at the end of the day, you're the only person wearing the shoes. So you know where it hurts, and you know what you can take and what you can't, and you choose what you decide to take and what you decide not to. And in those decisions, when you're choosing to overcome something or to cancel it, just be mindful of those red flags. And it's like, I think at the end of the day, for it to be good, it has to sit right with your gut instinct. And if it's not sitting right, then babe, maybe you should reconsider your decision. And maybe it's not a trial. Maybe it's not something that you need to overcome. Maybe it's something that you need to let go. And don't be afraid to we've talked about like not being afraid to let go in another episode. I can't remember which one it is, but
I think it was the shoot in Would You Risk It All for Love? Like, don't be afraid. I think that might have been it. Never mind, continue.
But the point is that if it's not sitting right, then maybe you need to be dealing with it in a different way than you have already chosen to deal with it. And there are some things that you have to have a baseline, a foundation, basically, as to what you will and won't accept. And love can be blind. Julie.
Yes.
Love can be blind.
Did you really?
I really have glasses and I refuse to use them.
Honestly, some rose-colored glasses, and it can happen. And no one's saying you don't. And I'm not saying that you should listen to the people around you all the time, because some people don't have your best interest at heart. And again, when we've talked about support systems and the people that you need to surround yourself with, and again, not everybody is in your situation, so only you know the depth of your situation and you know the whole truth of your situation. So you are the only person who can make the decision for you. But sis, if it does not feel right, you need to choose another option, because the one you have chosen is still rocky, and it is not sitting well with you, and that's how you're going to be feeling today, tomorrow, and continuously. Just saying.
Honestly, sis, it's incorrect. The choice is incorrect.
So how have you guys chosen to address your red flags in the past?
Oh, girl.
It's a door.
Wow.
I don't know. It's not as black and white as that, I must say.
No, it's not.
It's not. I'd like to say it is, but it's not. Especially when you have deep feelings for somebody, or you have developed a very strong emotional connection, and you believe that either this person is for you, or there's so much more positive that outweighs the negative. So it's a grey area. But I think you do need to look at the bigger picture. And does the positive really outweigh the negative? Is it more that the negative is frequent, but the positives are larger in terms of their individual experiences? Or is it that the negative is massive, but it only happened on few occasions, and the positive seems like it, like, you know, you're balancing, you have to see where you're balancing it, and just
it's weird. It's a weird one for me because I'm thinking back, when I think of past sorts of friendships, we're talking probably back in school now because I've got quite good friendships now. When I think of things that I ignored, like for example, like the whole gossipy behaviour thing, and unprovoked gossip, and I had a particular friend who used to do that all the time. And
you guys shared a friend that did that.
Mate, you know what? At the time, like, you don't even because it's never because they're never talking about you. You would think they would never do that about you, but you know they're doing it around someone else. But it hasn't clicked that you're just another person that it could easily happen about. And when it eventually did happen, you're like, oh shit. So this can turn around on me. And I think sometimes you deny people's bad behavior because it hasn't directly affected you. Yeah. So there's that with friendships. I think in romantic relationships, what I used to do was kind of balance the good and the bad. But what I did is that I gave way more favor to the good when the bad was very prevalent, but I just chose to see the good and be like, you know what, we have these good points in our relationship, and every relationship has bad turns, so you know what, I'm just going to concentrate on the good. But the bad was overwhelming. So it's just like, so it's something like, in the past I was in a relationship that was not physically abusive, but I would say at times emotionally abusive, and in the end, we ended up being just as bad to each other. But I do think in the beginning, I would see a lot of his behaviours and justify in that, he's really attentive, and I know when he's really possessive and he can be quite controlling, it's because he really cares about me, and he shows he cares about me by doing X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. And I used to justify the behaviours in that way, because I didn't want to see this person that I put on this pedestal in a bad light. Even putting someone on a pedestal, something that you shouldn't be doing in any relationship or friendship. You shouldn't be doing that. And the minute you see yourself doing that, that should be, in a way, a red flag. But how do you recognise that if you've never understood it before?
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah.
First and foremost, that putting someone on a pedestal leads to disappointment. That is that's the only result for that. Second of all, in terms of like identifying red flags for yourself, I mean, when we talk about self-love and we talk about I guess support networks and things like that, we really, I think if anyone has listened to all of our podcasts, or at least a few half of them, you will know that we are really big advocates of being at one with yourself, knowing yourself, and knowing what you can tolerate and knowing what you don't, and things like that. And I think if you know yourself, and it's not particularly about loving yourself, it's more about knowing yourself and being in tune with who you are, and therefore what you project into the world. So with that understanding of who you are and what your foundation is and what your baseline is, then you can put forward then acknowledge what is a red flag to you. Does that make sense? Not just what a red flag is, because it's very easy to see what a red flag is in someone else's life. But when you're looking in your own life, you tend not to see it. We all wear these rose-coloured glasses, especially when feelings are involved.
Yeah.
Mate, I feel like even talking about feelings, actually, I feel like in order to help you sort of begin to understand how your own red flags are and your own problematic behaviors, because I know I have a ton of problematic behaviors. It's only when I stopped being so driven by my own emotions, because I felt like I acted a lot from an emotional place, and I would react a lot to things from an emotional standpoint, and I am not my emotions. I should, like, my emotions are a manifestation of whatever I'm thinking, but I am not just anger, pain, sadness, happiness, joy. That's not all I am. Those are things that I experience as a result of however I interpret my environment. And I do think sometimes when we're not very self-reflective, when we are also exhibiting our own behaviors that could be somebody else's red flags, we don't see it. So like, I know for me, I'm not a good, like, I don't like dating people I don't like speaking to people who are generally not good at showing their emotions. But for a long time, I didn't speak about myself. I was here like, oh, this
I
person
called
might be
you
unavailable.
up on
Literally, like
this.
I don't know how to, I didn't express myself, and someone else must have find that very frustrating to have to deal with, because I'm here like, I'm fuming. I'll tell my friend I'm fuming, and then to this person I'm fine. I'm fine. Not like, what is that? And and even in that in itself is some form of
Internalism.
yeah, but then someone else, oh, they're emotionally unavailable. I find that frustrating. Da, 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 da. Sis, have you looked in the mirror lately?
Because you're moving the same.
But you know what we call that? Growth.
No, it's true. Like, even though I said pride is a red flag, I myself can be very, very prideful. When guys doing all the most with the affection, I'm there firm in it. Like, I ain't gonna let him see me sweat. I ain't gonna show him shit. He likes me. Okay, well, cool. I ain't gonna tell him I like him back. Like, whatever, in it. Like me, in it. Like me, but I ain't gonna tell you I like you. I'm not gonna let myself be vulnerable in front of you, because I know I'm thinking you're gonna take my emotions for a joyride, whereas you really well and truly you might have no ill intention towards me. You just want to get to know me, but I'm there like, nope, go firm it. I'm not gonna show you. You go see me sweat. You go see me sweat. Even the judgment, I'm there already, like, looking at you like, you a fuck boy. I can feel it in the air. Where did that come from? I don't know. But we do that.
We do that.
Like, when a guy's talking to you and he's all smiling and laughing, like, I feel like you're gonna mess with me. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you're gonna mess with me. You don't look at type of boy. Like, honestly, I'm telling you, we do that though. We do that, and it's. You pointed out something very important, that like we do ourselves have to
self-reflect.
Yeah, self-reflect. And take account for our own red flags that we're also doing as well.
Look, guys, what are our red flags? What are the 3 behaviors we know we exhibit that are problematic, not just in our friendships, but in relationships as well?
Can I go first?
Go ahead.
Unavailability.
Okay.
When I want to drop under the radar, because of my introvert personality, if I want to drop off the radar, I will drop off the radar. I won't say nothing to nobody. I'll go hidden. MIA. That's not very good, because I know people are out there, they're concerned about me, they're worried, they just want to see I'm okay, but I'm there in my feelings, like, yeah, I want to be left alone, just leave me alone, I want to be left alone. Pride, like I said, I will never, I always say, I'll never tell you I like you first, I'll never say I love you first, I'll never give you the hand, yeah, I won't let you hold my hand. What are them, and the judgment. I'm constantly thinking, like, I got called paranoid the other day. I'm constantly thinking you're trying to one up me. I'm always there, like, what are your motives? What do you want from me? What are you up to? What do you do? Why are you looking at me like that? Why'd you say that? What'd you tell about me? What'd you tell them about me? Were you thinking about me today? Why didn't you text me? Why'd you only text once a day? Like, all that type of stuff. It is exhausting. I'm pretty sure that is irritating to somebody. Somebody's thinking like, yo, she's a nice girl, but fuck me, can she shut up? Stop asking me all these questions.
She's paranoid. And then I think you might have someone thinking, why is she so paranoid? Is she doing something? And that might make that person paranoid because of your paranoia.
Exactly. And my temper. Oof.
Okay, girl, you got a whole list. Let me...
My temper can get a bit irrational. It can, but I'll come back afterwards in tears and start crying, and that's bad. So I'm trying to work on that.
You got some in your back pocket for you.
It's gonna sink down below the desk.
Who's going next?
Mine is I have been known to come across as bossy. And it's really ironic.
It's the way she said I've been known to as bossy. Not like, someone told me I'm bossy. I've been known to come across.
well, to be fair, in my defense, it gives me very good leadership qualities, which also accounts for my positioning, without like 3 jobs and stuff. But I don't mean to be bossy. It's like, I think I tend to feel like I take charge when something's not happening, and that's just my personality. But ironically, I actually like to be led, and I think I've said this in a previous podcast as well. I like someone else taking charge or getting things sorted, or I mean, damn it, if someone can organize a birthday party for me, I'll be happy. I ain't got to do that.
Because you're too in the know.
Hey, there you go. So it's like apparently I take like too much authority or bossy or manager head or whatever it is, something like that. But yeah, I think that might, if someone is or wants to be a dominant or has a dominant personality, they might see that as a red flag because they might see it as controlling, or they might see it as wanting to organize everything or always want to be in charge of something, and that might rub someone the wrong way, whereas I mean no harm by it at all. And as I said, ironically, I'd rather you take the lead on that. Another one for me is that I'm really friendly, and guys don't like that. That's like, if they're dating you, they don't like that. Because I'm friendly to both species, both genders.
Species.
Yeah,
Species, you know.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that, being a man is a whole different species. I'm just saying.
Oh dear.
both
Wow.
genders. Both genders. So I'm quite friendly to people. Like, I don't kind of, if a guy's moving to me, whether I'm in a relationship or not, like, I'm not gonna be like, and you know, I don't have that like rude complex. I'm just like, yeah, you're right, but I'm not interested. I'll tell you I'm not interested, but I won't be snobby about it. I'll still kind of be friendly about it. Whereas, like, from an outsider's point of view, it may look like I'm entertaining that person where I'm not. Do you get what I mean? So I think guys, particularly, especially if they're dating you, they don't particularly like that kind of friendliness, and it may present as a red flag to someone. To be honest, I think it's a bit of insecurity, but that's my own personal opinion. But it may present as a red flag to somebody because it just may look like I'm flirtatious, or I know a lot of people, maybe something like that, which could be concerning to somebody. But I'm just friendly. It's as simple as that. There's no thingy behind it. I understand. The other one is I don't trust people as far as I can throw them. So yeah, I'm really limited with my trust, and I don't know if to somebody that may present, or if someone's slightly, I'm not going to say paranoid, but someone could interpret as, why should I trust you if you don't trust me, kind of thing. Whereas I know that it's maybe using your experiences or your past or whatever, but it's not just about being hurt, but I've had my trust betrayed in so many different ways and so many different versions in the past from people that are far and near. And I don't know, people don't surprise me these days. And it's just like the stuff that people come out with, it's not shocking anymore. And it's not shocking to me because of my lack of trust for people, if that makes sense. But it's not like I use it to not form relationships or to dismantle relationships. I just use it to lower my expectations from people. And it's just like, okay,
The
well,
bar is in hell then, basically.
If I don't trust you, I don't maybe invest my whole life savings into you, and therefore I could never really acquire that loss per se. But if you're cool, you're there in it. I don't know what else to say, but maybe that's a red flag to somebody. I don't know, but that's my caution, kind of. I'm sorry.
But you're there, innit?
You're there. I don't use it to like put you down or make you far. I'm just cautious about what I do trust you with, and that's all.
I think my three, I think I have plenty, but I'm trying to think of what my worst three are. I think I'm incredibly dismissive, and it can be quite bad in how it shows, because like someone will be something, I'm like, nah. That's not helpful at all. No, literally, no. Or I will find, or like, if something's like not to my liking, I'm just like, no. Or I'll just like, nothing. There's just, and the line is drawn, and I'm unshakable in where my line is. This is it. I have dismissed it, and it's no longer my problem. Next. And it's just,
this is what we call savage, Julie.
I just feel like that's not the most.
Where she was born.
I feel like that's not how you deal with things. Because I feel like it's not, because I've been like that since I was young, and I think about it, in which I've like, if someone repeatedly does things that are wrong to me, or things that I deem to be wrong, then I'm like, you know what, you're cancelled, next. And I'm literally just like, you no longer exist. And it's just like, you can't deal with people like that. People are people. They're not things that you can brush under a carpet. You can't brush a person under a carpet, but in my head, it's absolutely possible. But no, that's not how it should be. So yeah, I can be really dismissive. I think as well, I can be quite naive at times. And I think for me, that's been quite problematic because I'm almost the opposite of Chardz in that I'd be too trusting of people who in hindsight never deserved my trust in the first place. And I will put people on this pedestal and be like, they would never do this or they would never do that and da 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 da. And when they do, it absolutely shatters me. And I shouldn't just be so willing to let people kind of like, you know, in that way, because maybe that's because, but especially when I was younger, I was a really big people pleaser. So instead of being a complete people pleaser now, I'm left with the residual naivety that was there from that. And what was the last one? I was thinking this one was relatively like.
Do you think we should fuse together and separate again, Julie, so that we can actually meet in the middle with our trust issues?
I girl suggested a fusion technique. Do you want the earrings?
I got the moves, sis.
What's the name gonna be?
Let's go.
Julie Zoe.
Joey works. I think
like Zodiac.
I think my last one actually probably would be the pride one, because I see it in that I almost don't asking for help takes me a very long time because I hate asking for help because I don't like admitting when something is wrong. I don't want to ask anyone for help. I want to handle it myself. And even when it comes to dating and stuff, like I feel like part of the reason why in some instances I insist on paying my half or paying for the whole thing, especially if I don't like someone, it comes from a place of pride. Like, I don't want you to have one over me, so I'm laying my da-da-da. Really, sis? You're blocking your own blessings because you don't know how to shut up. Like, really and truly, Juliet. You're like, who do you think you are? Like, and I think sometimes I can be way too prideful in how I handle situations. And I feel like I've definitely blocked my own blessings in certain ways and also denied myself help that I probably needed because I didn't know how to ask for help because my pride was flipping through the roof. So yeah, pride, naivety, and being dismissive.
Wow, I was a bit mad when you look back on it. You're just like, God, I am a problematic human being. But it's life, man. We all got our red flags, and we've all got red flags that we are. You know, it's fair. Okay, so
what
just
do you
make sure
guys think the best way to? I know we've talked about identifying them or like knowing what they are really. So everyone has named a few, but how does one really kind of go about spotting or checking for red flags?
A red flag?
Yeah.
But in yourself or other people or both?
Both.
Ooh.
How? I mean, you might list a few that, I mean, some people can listen to this podcast and be like, oh, right, pride, that's not a red flag. That's just a characteristic, you know? And that might be a perception. Yeah, it might lead to something negative, but I don't feel like it sends alarm bells as per a red flag.
I get that.
Do you know what I mean? So how do you really like sit there and go, you know what, this is actually a red flag? How do you identify like that?
I think with some of the ones that I'm thinking of, it's like maybe you have two answers here. One of them is in how that particular behavior makes you feel. So with some of the red flags that we've discussed with other people, if they, like, I think you mentioned it, Chardz, actually, like if someone makes you feel uncomfortable as a result of their red flag behavior, then you need to check, why do I feel uncomfortable? Is this actually justified? Okay, cool. Because you acknowledge your emotional situation and you're like, where is this coming from? And if you realize it's coming from a person, like you got a clock, what is it about this person that's making me feel uncomfortable? And if you realize it's because of how they speak, how are they speaking? And you know what? It is a long process, but all of that long work means you can get out quicker, sis. So really and truly, did work. Did work. Don't take shortcuts. If you realize that someone's making you feel a certain type of way, the more you practice that behavioral clock, this person within 5 seconds, you can feel uncomfortable. I'm looking for the bill when I'm leaving. Good night and have a good life. Like, sometimes you be dismissive. Sometimes you be dismissive. And I think for the other one, in terms of like recognizing my own behaviors, I think when you look at how you justify what you did. And if you are struggling to justify your own behavior, it's because it's probably there as you just repeating a faulty behavior or a problematic behavior that you've never really called out before. So like someone actually asked me, why do you feel the need to justify you know, you're searching for a reason, but you really have no reason.
Can I just poke a few holes in what you said? So in regards to noticing it from another person, you may feel a type of way from somebody's behavior. It may not particularly be a red flag as such. That's something like we could generalize. What about if it's coming from your insecurities? What if it's coming from your mindset or the way you have perceived a situation as opposed to what the situation is? So sometimes you can be your own worst enemy based on perception, and I think the statement where nothing is either good or bad, it's the way it's perceived, kind of stands in this one. The second hole I want to poke in the other one, in terms of self-reflecting and going through the procedure, is how do you I think what you're saying comes from a sane person or someone of sound mind that can rationalize their own behavior. But when someone is maybe takes some characteristic that is self-centered more so and thinks whatever I'm doing is right, there's no reason, or you can't actually see what effect you're having on somebody else, or you can't see the issue in what you did, and therefore it looks like you have no red flags. What about that?
Seeing that, that's the thing. That's the fundamental problem, because and it happens with some of the patients that you see in like certain mental health cases. They can't see how badly their behavior affects somebody else, and that in itself is a red flag. If everyone around you is telling you, you do this and it makes me feel uncomfortable, and you're like, I'm not the one of the problem here, that's you. Really? Really? Sometimes some people aren't able to recognize their own problematic behaviors. And I'm saying if people who are or are trying to learn that, some people can't see it.
I feel like at that point you're kind of dealing with not narcissist. Yeah, you're dealing with a narcissist. I didn't want to say it. But at that point you're dealing with a narcissist, and with narcissists they're so self-involved with themselves, it's a bit hard.
Sometimes I feel like it's not even necessarily because you're a narcissist per se. Just some people have zero emotional intelligence and they don't know how to relate to people.
She's not wrong.
I love that.
She's not wrong.
It's true.
Bro.
Like some people cannot relate to other people. Like, and even asking them to recognize particular things, they're like, I don't get it. And it's the most it's not even an abstract thing. It's the most basic thing. And they're like, who is that? I don't recognize her. Like, what do you do then? So yeah, it really depends. Some people are so far gone, there's no saving them.
Also, some people are very, sorry if I'm going to come to you in a second, some people are very non-self-reflecting, as in they can see a situation and they're quite good at sorting through someone else, analyzing an external situation. But when it's like the exact same thing is happening in their life, or they are doing it, they literally cannot see it. Like, blinders on.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Open your eyes.
I would say though, a way that you can identify, and this is like a sound person to another sound person, is if that person is ballsy enough, and a lot of girls won't come across this, but if the guy is ballsy enough to call you out on your own behavior. Now, another red flag of mine is self-sabotage. My friend called me up on my self-sabotaging tendencies, and it was when we were talking on the phone, and he was asking me about why, he was like asking me how a certain situation was going, and I was like, it's going well, it's going good, this, that, and the other, and I was like, but, and he was like, but what? And I was like, I don't know, this, that, and the other, and they were like, why? He was like, I want you to name this many pros about this person and this many cons about this person. So I was naming all the pros and stopped at the cons. And it was like, the fact you can't think of any cons is a problem. Why are you trying to sabotage something that could potentially be good for you? Like, this is a problem. You need to reflect on it, kind of thing. And I think if somebody is ballsy enough to say to you, like, I don't like the way you've made me feel, or you've done this and I've noticed it had X, Y, and Z effect, that should then prompt you as a person of sound mind to then sit down and reflect upon your behavior and think about the effects it might have on another person.
What do you think the result of self-sabotage can be? Why do you see it as a red flag?
Because it's like what Juliet said earlier, you're blocking your own blessings in a way. It could be a potentially good situation, but because of, like you said, insecurities, you may try to think, oh, you know what, or you might think just, as you've done something in your past that deems you unworthy for this situation, therefore you'll try and sabotage it from happening because you don't think that you deserve it. It could be either one of those things, but that in itself is a red flag. That undeserving, I shouldn't have, I'm not allowed, I'm not good enough for, that in itself is a red flag, because that then shows that you have a mindset that's quite negative. And I don't mean to be horrible, not to say you can't have bad days or negative moments, but nobody wants nobody, yeah.
Negative Nancy.
Because if negative Nancy, that's gonna bring you down. I know that sounds horrible, but it will bring you down.
It can be mentally and emotionally draining.
Really, exactly. And nobody wants to. I met somebody who said that they stayed in a relationship for 4 years, even though they knew they shouldn't have been in that relationship for 4 years. But it was just because they wanted to be there for that person because they weren't in an emotionally stable place. Does that sound?
That's not fair.
Your business.
That's not even fair. That's not fair.
Do you know what I mean?
To yourself. I've been in a situation that is emotionally draining, and you just can't. It takes everything from
out of you.
Yeah, and you can't move forward. You're just constantly being pulled back, and there's no progress in that.
That in itself is a red flag, I think.
Fair enough. Okay, guys. Well, we gotta go.
I think this has been a really good topic, though. I didn't expect it to pop off, but it did. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it is. So I think we conclude where we all have to think about those. I think noticing a red flag is very important. Realizing your own red flags are important, and what you do next for after you notice a red flag, like how do you overcome it or how do you deal with it? I think that's another thing that people really need to look into. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, definitely. Like, keep your eyes peeled and also keep your mind peeled for what's coming at you and what you're putting out there. Wow, that sounds a bit. Sorry, don't peel anything. Don't peel anything. Don't put anything out there. Just pay attention, okay, and just be nice
and be present. Because a lot of the times, some of you may be thinking what you're seeing is a red flag, but what you're seeing is your past reflecting in front of you, and you're mistaking it for the person in front of you. That problem is your own.
Wow. Yes. I think we're gonna end with wide words from Julie.
Definitely.
All right, guys, you can catch us every other Tuesday, right here on Spotify, on Anchor, on YouTube. You know where to find us. Follow the link, description. Follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. And share, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.